Heading out for a little training hike. It's 95 degrees. My kind of weather. February 27th. So it's been kind of a rough week for me. I haven't been sleeping well. I've had probably some anxiety around the upcoming hike. And this is Friday. On Monday night, after not a very long training hike, only 4 miles and about 1,000 feet of elevation gain, I went to bed, and about 11 o'clock or so, I felt like my heart was pounding a little bit, and I looked at my watch, and it was like my heart rate was 85 beats a minute, and I thought, wow, that's high. And I just watched it soar up over 100 beats per minute, and I knew I was having an anxiety attack or, and tachycardia. But I was also still on a heart monitor because I was being tested for possible AFib, and so I was anxious about that, thinking, well, maybe it really is AFib. Maybe my hiking days are over. And anyway, it got recorded on the monitor, and I thought, well, okay, they're going to see that things are not good here. And then I woke up the next morning, and there was a message on the monitor that said my monitoring interval had ended. Well, I thought, I wonder if it caught that episode. And so I followed the instructions on the monitor to download all of the data. It was off of the chest monitor. You basically take it off your chest and then put it by the phone that is used with it, and you upload the data. Well, it wasn't uploading. I called them and I got some extra instructions, and I asked them, well, when did this thing stop recording? And they said midnight last night. So I realized, okay, so it caught whatever that thing was where I was having the tachycardia. And then and so I sent the monitor back in on Tuesday, and yesterday I got the results, and the results were that they did not notice any arrhythmia. They did notice one interval or one incident of I guess high sinus rhythm. Well, I looked that up. What does that mean? Well, sinus rhythm is the normal rhythm. So you can have an accelerated heartbeat with a normal heartbeat, like if you're having a panic attack or if you're having a lot of stress or whatever, and maybe that's what happened. So I guess it was kind of good news. On the other hand, my watch has been telling me for quite a while that since last week that my HRV has been sliding, and last night it was at the lowest I've seen it maybe forever. It was like 23 milliseconds. And I got to thinking about it, and it was telling me, the phone or the watch was telling me, or the phone app, the Garmin phone app, was saying, okay, maybe it's you've got a lot of stress going on. Well, the flip side of not exercising for a period of time is that your heart rate, your resting heart rate, starts going up a little bit. And I kind of thought, geez, I wonder if like taking a break from training can actually in the short run cause a low HRV? So I asked Google, and the answer was yes, it can cause it. And it kind of makes sense because your resting heart rate is starting to go up a little bit, and so you're not getting the drop followed by a little rise that you would normally get with normal heart rate variability. You're just getting this sort of a continuously, maybe slowly increasing heart rate. Anyway, here it is, Friday, and I've decided, the HRV's low, but I've been getting some okay, not great sleep. I got to get back out there. The monitor, the 30-day monitor is telling me that there's nothing out of the ordinary with my heart, so I got to get back training. It's only about 17 days left now. So here I am. I'm out here getting ready to go climb a mountain. And so I'll keep you posted. Well, today I'm going to climb this bad boy here. That's not actually the top. That's it goes up, like so many mountains and big hills. There's always something higher beyond the view, and that's about 1,000 feet up, and maybe close to 2 miles of climb. So maybe about 500 feet per mile. Not bad, and it's hot, so it's going to be good training. River crossing. Yeah, river might be a bit of an exaggeration. Oh, what a nice day out here. Yeah, the recent rains followed by this now pretty hot sunny weather is really bringing out the flowers maybe a little early. Yeah, I can't really make a direct line of causality between recent bad sleep and the upcoming hike. I don't lay there in bed obsessing about the hike. It seems like I'm not thinking about it at all, but I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, there's stuff going on, and it's keeping me awake a little bit. I'm hoping that that'll kind of settle down when we get on the trail, but I know from last year's experience that I had a lot of sleep problems. Some of it I'm trying to address with there's the change in the tent, going from a Plex Solo tent, which for me was actually a little bit cramped. I'm a little over 6 foot, and that tent was a little cramped and just not much extra space for any gear or anything. So that's going, and this year we're going with a triplex, and both of us, Marta and I, will be in there, and I already tested it out with our sleeping mats. There's enough room for two 25-inch wide rectangular sleeping mats, and then there's a thin zone of maybe 8 inches or 10 inches in between where hopefully we can stash gear. Which brings up another change I've made. Last year I was using a mummy style air mattress, and the big problem I had with that was I roll around a lot at night, and I would often, my feet would roll off of one side, my head would roll off the other side, and then I'd be all disoriented trying to get myself back on the air mattress. Hopefully that won't be as much of a problem with the rectangular one. Definitely taking my time on this climb today. In this heat, your heart rate's always going to be a little bit higher, just your heart trying to cool things down. And so with the higher heart rate, just means if you're doing a climb, your heart rate's also going to be higher there. And I've learned about myself that if I push for an extended period of time above about 130 beats per minute, I mean like maybe a couple of hours, my heart just starts thinking, I guess this is the new normal. And then it will just continue beating at that same rate until after a somewhat extended period of rest, it finally gets the idea that it doesn't need to be that high anymore, and then it very quickly reverts to a normal heart rate. Fortunately, apparently this is normal sinus rhythm. It's just accelerated due to heat, overtraining, fatigue, stress, whatever. So I guess that's the good side of it. But even so, I like to keep it from happening. So I'm just careful about that maximum heart rate. Another thing that's probably going around in the back of my head is the food situation. I started out last year kind of naively thinking that I was going to make it on snack bars. A few people had that was their method of hiking, and I thought, yeah, sure, I can do that. And I had a little bit of cold soaking, I think, thrown in, or I had the idea that there would be some cold soaking. Well, I didn't make it very far. I think actually day 2 I decided, this is for the birds, and fortunately I was still close to home and I could ask somebody to come and bring the stove and a few freeze-dried meals. And so anyway, that became the kind of pattern from that point on, was a couple of freeze-dried meals and maybe about 10 snack bars during the day. Even so, I'm not exactly sure where it was. It might have been right after Jacinto, but by that point I had already lost I think about 13 pounds. I was down to 147 pounds. For a person that's a little over 6 feet, that's kind of a low weight. Even my normal around 160 is, a lot of people might think that's a little bit on the thin side. But anyway, I didn't really like the experience of just feeling fatigue and then eating another snack bar and getting a sugar kick, and then again feeling the fatigue and eating another snack bar, getting another sugar kick. Not to mention you got all this, you're just eating all this sugar, and it's You know, it's probably not so great for your teeth, and just all that blood sugar spiking. So this time around, I thought, you know, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to design some meals, some dehydrated meals that I can take, and I'm going to design them so that I don't get blood sugar spikes, and I'm going to get, they're going to be high calorie, a lot higher than what you get from any of these freeze-dried meals. I mean, a freeze-dried meal, it's usually like 2 servings, and each serving's like 300 calories. You gotta eat the whole thing to get like 600 calories. And even then, if you break it down, those calories are not all available for burning. In the end, maybe a double 600 calorie meal, you're only going to get, say, 450 calories that are really available for burning, because there's protein in there, and your body hopefully is going to be using that protein to repair the daily damage. And then there's maybe a little fiber in there, which, you know, you don't get much energy out of it, so you got to subtract all that stuff out. Well, anyway, so I had the idea, okay, design these dehydrated meals that are, call them 900 calories or so, 850 to 900 calories, and then net of protein and net of fiber, maybe, you know, 700 calories. And you know, combine that with, so you got a little fiber in there, you're adding a little olive oil, and what the fiber and the olive oil are doing is they're slowing down the digestion, and you're not getting big blood sugar spikes. And I tried these meals on Catalina Island through hike some weeks back, and no snacking, just eating these, a big lunch, a big dinner, and 2 big breakfasts. So each one of these meals, 800 to 900 total calories each. Still, believe it or not, really not quite enough for a daily through hike calorie expenditure, but still pretty good. And like I said, I did the whole island, no snacking, just eating the big meals. And Catalina Island's got some pretty steep climbs, but I felt great. I just powered through the climbs. I didn't feel any loss of energy, and so that sounds like a pretty good approach. And but I've managed to get about 150 of these meals, you know, cooked and dehydrated. It's quite a bit of work, and sometimes I've just sort of needed a break from it, or I just can't pay attention to it for a while. So the concern is, well, there's not really enough time left to get that all done. So, you know, what am I going to do about that? And part of the solution might be to just combine dehydrated ingredients that don't require a lot of cooking and, you know, food processing, and but still give the same benefit of slow burn, lots of calories, and then maybe I can get some help throwing some of those kind of meals together. We are planning on doing a lot of shipper boxes. I know some people are frowning on that. They think you should just kind of eat what you can as you go. But that's what we're doing. That's our hike. And so a little bit of worry about that. A little bit of the white mice thing going on in the back of my head, maybe. I wish sometimes I could focus a little more on the therapeutic benefits of just being outdoors and seeing the scenery and having the sun shining. I tend to forget about that good aspect of hiking. Not to mention kind of how narrowed down and uncomplicated your world becomes when it's all about just putting one foot in front of another and climbing up a hill. Yeah, just a little side note here regarding nutrition, maybe supplements or whatever. As with the first hike, I will not be taking any electrolytes, although I do have my salt shaker. And hear me out on this, because I tell people, look at the list of ingredients and the percentages of the daily requirement that you get from a packet of electrolyte. And also note that many of them have sugar in them. And that sugar gives you a little temporary feeling of, energy, which might be confused as coming from the electrolytes themselves. Anyway, then go take a look at the nutrition label for a snack bar. And note that the snack bar oftentimes has the same percentages of electrolytes, like potassium, maybe calcium or whatever, that's in one of your electrolyte packets. And then the other thing is that when you sweat, by very far, the thing that you lose with the sweat is the sodium chloride. I asked Google, hey, what is in your sweat, and how much potassium is in there, how much calcium? Well, it's traces of those things, but the salt, yes, and it makes sense because, if you're gonna lose water, you better also lose some salt. Otherwise, you're gonna be have a huge imbalance in your blood. It's going to be too salty for the volume, the decreased volume that you've lost from sweating. So I have the salt shaker, and then in my meals I've also designed the meals to have a high potassium to sodium ratio. So I get plenty of sodium from the meals, I get plenty of potassium from the meals, and whatever sodium I do not get, I can just supplement by using the salt shaker. Sometimes I add a little salt to the water that I'm drinking, and sometimes I just drink straight water. But the point is that really it's, in terms of being hot, sweating, the big concern is that sodium balance. And, staying hydrated, of course, but since you're losing so much salt from sweating, when you're drinking that water, you want to make sure you replace that just to keep the sodium balance about the same. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that subject. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to object to that. But it's the way I see it, and somebody's got to show me evidence that you're really losing so much potassium and calcium and whatever that you must replace that with an electrolyte instead of just eating a snack or eating a good meal, whatever. I guess basically what I'm saying is electrolyte supplements are a big hype about nothing. But really, a great moneymaker for the manufacturers when you consider the cost of the ingredients and then the price they sell the things. They're making a huge profit. Huge. Well, if anybody saw the video from the other day, you might notice that this looks like the same place, and it is. I'm looking toward the east. PCT's over there. Maybe 30-40 miles as the crow flies. And it's coming. I gotta maintain an even strain, not get too stressed out. Part of it is excitement about getting out there, and part of it is just the excitement too is stressful. So just gotta stay mellow. I know the thing is, I know what's in front of me because I did it last year. It's a lot of work. There's some difficult times, but I gotta focus on the good times too. And really the days that were just fine, not much going on, but just hiking. Alright, heading back down. I like this trail. There's a lot of rocks and trip hazards. Keeps your attention level up, and hopefully it helps my aging body and brain with coordination and strength, leg strength, balance, depth perception. All these things I've come to learn are somewhat compromised with age. You think you see the world and can react to it just like you could when you were 20, but no, you really can't. Yeah, just right now I was thinking about last year's hike. I was coming out of Cajon Pass, going up into the San Gabriel Mountains, and I was with another guy. Big Mac was his trail name, and I think it's because his last name was McDonald. But the guy was hiking. He was like 68. Yeah, shout out Big Mac, by the way. I don't know whatever happened to you. Kind of lost you on Baden Powell. I wonder if you finished your through hike. Anyway, Big Mac had a pacemaker, so he couldn't go uphill very fast. So we were climbing up into the San Gabriels, and we saw a group of hikers. They looked young coming down below, and we were getting a little bit concerned about, it was getting late in the day, and there weren't a lot of tent sites available, and so we wanted to try and hurry and get somewhere, but Big Mac couldn't go that fast. I could. I mean, for my age, I can go pretty fast on a climb, but I'm working really hard doing it. And I remembered I took off in quest of that tent site. I'm breathing hard, I'm climbing hard, and I'm looking back, and there was a guy. Man, he was relentless. He just kept getting closer and closer. Man, I was giving it my all. And I kept looking back. It's getting closer, getting closer. finally I realized it just was no use. The guy was going to pass me. The guy came up past me. He was, I'd say he was maybe 6'4", 6'5", just muscular, big, and he was hardly breaking a sweat. And he just rolled on past me, and I thought, well, shit, that's it. You know, we're gonna lose the next tent site. But I think that guy, he must have continued on. I mean, he probably was thinking, geez, I got another several hours here today. I can put on another 10 miles. I don't know, but anyway, eventually I did find a tent site. But that was just one of those evidences that I had that, well, number one, we're not all created equal. Number two, that guy was a lot younger than me, a lot stronger, and basically, I don't kid myself anymore about my ability to do miles. I don't have that ability. A 20-mile day is probably pushing my luck. I did a lot of 20-mile days last year, but it probably was to my detriment. Anyway, it just, you know, it's funny how I think back to different things that happened on the trail last year and kind of chuckle about some of them. Other ones kind of puts a little fear in me. One thing I'll say about Big Mac was he was very slow on the uphill, but nevertheless, he was still kind of hard to keep up with. Just because he was slow and steady, and also making and breaking camp, he was very efficient. And he could get out of camp well before me, and then I'd have to catch up to him. But I was always surprised how far I had to go to catch up. So I thought that was interesting, and I did make some observations about his routine, and I made some changes. So I learned a little from Big Mac. Man, I can't believe this weather. Second to last day of February. All my old friends and relations back in Minnesota, eat your hearts out. This is why I moved out here. Of course, a lot of Minnesotans would not necessarily envy me at all. They like the 4 seasons. I hear that a lot. Oh yeah, that's nice, but I like the 4 seasons here in Minnesota. Yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing the different approach between Marta and me regarding the upcoming through hike. I'm obsessing over every detail. I'm packing and repacking my pack and asking myself if this is the right gear, and you know, what can I do to make my hike more comfortable and more efficient. And she's like, well, she's not even putting on her pack that much, and it's like, well, like she says, you know, you have to be adaptable. And I don't know, she's Brazilian. I guess Brazilians are, that's a trait, they're adaptable. But I need a set routine. I need a list. I need a process. And it's going to be interesting to see how both of our approaches work out on the trail. Maybe we'll benefit each other. I don't know. Let's see. Look at this excellent little training area. Big rocks, little rocks, rocks everywhere. Trip hazards. The little rocks act like ball bearings, and you step on them and they kind of roll out from under your feet. Nice. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to mention another change I'm making on this through hike, and that is the footwear. On this through hike, I'm going to be using the Merrell Moab Speed 2 GTX. Last year, I tried a couple of different shoes. I tried, well, I started out with, if you can believe it, Hoka Cliftons, which is a road shoe. But the reason I was wearing them was because they were so comfortable and I was so used to them, and I thought I could get away with it. Well, I'll tell you, I scared the crap out of myself a few times on a sort of a sandy, sloped ledges with precipitous drops. And my feet were sliding, and God, I thought I was going to die a bunch of times. I had one time where it was so bad that I had to put my micro spikes on just to keep a grip. And and not only that, but Cliftons do not wear very well on the trail. I got about maybe 300 miles out of a pair before they were shot. Then I switched to the Topo TerraVentures, and they actually worked pretty good. They didn't have quite as much cushion as I would like, but they were they had good grip, so that allayed my concerns about that. And they also were not killing my feet. I mean, I have some nerve damage in my feet, and if they get heated up a little bit, or if they're feeling a little bit confined, they'll tend to start really letting me know about it. But I wasn't getting that. What I was getting, unbeknownst to me, was at the time was a little bit of rubbing on the right heel, which eventually blistered and then went deeper to the point where I don't know if there's a bursa in there that I, destroyed or what, but to this day, my right heel is quite sore. And I also have very large bone growths on both heels. Now, I'm not really sure when I got those, but they're there. And that was one aspect of it. And the other thing was, even to this day, when I'm walking barefoot, I feel like I'm just walking on bare bones. I don't feel any cushioning in my feet, and I think those Topo TerraVentures, they didn't have enough cushion, and maybe all that continuous impacting, just, I don't know, whatever collagen or whatever material was left in the bottoms of my feet, I just pounded it out. Let's see, what else about that? There's something else. I forget. Anyway, the Merrell Moab, oh yeah, that's it. So the other aspect of both the Hokas and the Topos is the Hokas more than the Topos. They're soft. The soles are a little bit soft and they're flexible. So when you have a backpack on and you're stepping on a lot of rocks, you tend to get a pretty intense foot massage all the time. And I think that was part of the whole degrading of the bottoms of my feet too, just getting that continuous foot massage. So what I was looking for was something that had a more rigid sole. In other words, when you step on a fairly large rock, the sole doesn't just kind of fold over that rock and punch you in in the arch, let's say. No, instead you go up on top of that rock and you go over it. Of course, that requires you're going to have a little more reinforcement in the ankle. Either you're going to rely on ankle strength, or you're going to need some additional reinforcement in the shoe. Well, this Merrell Moab Speed 2 is actually kind of like a boot. It doesn't go all the way high like some boots, but it goes up. And it gives you a little more support. It also, because there's more contact with the backs of my feet, I don't have that sliding or, you know, a braiding thing going on back there. But yeah, so they have a nice rigid sole, and so I'm not feeling the rocks as much. What else? Oh, they have big lugs. Yeah, on really polished boulders. If you're going over boulders, they're a little slick. You can slide a bit, and I don't like that. I mean, the Topos and the Hokas are. Well, I should mention that I have worn Speed Goats on the trail as well, but they have the same soft sole. But on the other hand, all of those shoes are a lot grippier on like shiny boulders or rocks or whatever. So I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful in situations where I got to climb over some boulders. I did try some other boots prior to going on the hike, looking for that more rigid sole. I think I tried some Obos and a Solo. I didn't last more than 3 miles in either of them. They were heavy. They were leather. The Solos were kind of a hard leather upper, super uncomfortable. The Obos were softer, but still, they both held in a lot of heat. And like I said, my feet do not like heat, and they start complaining really loudly. But these Moab Speed 2, they have a synthetic upper. It's lightweight. My feet are not heating up in them, and they're very comfortable. No break-in really. I put them on for the first time and hiked 40 miles on Catalina Island, and had a few little hot spots, kind of to be expected, I guess. I hadn't been doing any distance hiking for a while, so I probably would have got that from anything. But yeah, I think I'm going to be good with these boots, if they call them a boot. Another thing that's been on my mind, it was last year as well, is dealing with rain. The thing about Southern California and even in the Sierras, what I noticed is, you know, you're going to get a rain storm. Like in the Sierras, maybe you're going to get an afternoon rain shower, and then it's going to blow over. Even rain in Southern California, or, you know, on the third day of my hike, I had snow showers, and everything got frozen, but still, the next day, the sun was out, and after I got everything thawed out and dried out, I was good to go. Generally, you're not going to be encountering a situation where you've got days on end. I better hold on a second. This is a dangerous sandy spot here. I'm going to try to put the phone away for a second and make it through here. anyway, for the kind of short duration rain that I experienced in Southern California in the Sierras, I would say, you know, just about anything would work. I had frog togs, and I did get into a pretty substantial afternoon storm in the Sierras, and it was quite the downpour. The frog togs did wet out a little bit, and some of my clothes were just, you know, a little damp. But again, it cleared up in the evening. I hung a few items on a line to dry, and they were dry in the morning, and I was good to go. So there's not really a lot of challenge in a Southern California rain. But still, I've asked myself, what can I do to improve this situation? And I purchased, you know, I had bought a couple of different things, ponchos, and I did buy some 3-layer rain gear, which should be, you know, would handle anything in the Pacific Northwest, but it's heavy, about 1.5 pounds for the jacket and the pants, but total overkill for Southern California. Even so, in the rain in the Sierras, like I said, the frog togs wetted out a little bit. I got a little bit damp. My Flash 55 backpack wetted out a little bit. Some items in it got a little bit damp. And I've played around with the idea of the ponchos, and Marta and I just ordered some different ponchos, and we got one yesterday, and we tried it on, and I think it's a pretty good deal. It fits nicely over the backpack, and it's got a zipper in the front and a little draw cord to pull it tight around your waist. And I tried it on with my backpack, and I think it's good. Yeah, the backpack I'm using, whatever, that thing. It's the Hyperlite Southwest, which I'm not particularly fond of, and I feel like I was a little bit deceived, you know, with it. It's made with Dyneema, which it's waterproof. It's got a plastic layer in it, so it is waterproof. But of course the seams are vulnerable. Well, Hyperlite does not even bother to seal the seam where the shoulder straps attach onto the top of the pack. And what I found out the one time I went out in the rain with this thing was it leaks through there, and because it's waterproof, the water just gets inside, and then it's basically pools up in the bottom of the waterproof pack. So you got like a little swimming pool going on down there. And I did get some seam sealer, and I sealed the seams on mine. I'm going to do it on Marta's as well. But the thing is, if we get into a campsite in the rain, I would like to get all of our gear inside the tent, and for that I would like it to be dry. And the poncho seems like a pretty good solution. So I think we're probably going to go with it. With the ponchos weigh 8 ounces, and then if I combine that with the frog tog pants, I think it comes to about 13 ounces, which it's a little heavy, but not bad. It's a price I might pay for just having everything stay dry. And the other thing about it, though, is of course the pants are not really breathable, but what I found in the rainstorms that I was in was it was cold, and I wasn't sweating a lot because I was a little bit cold. So, and the poncho, I mean, it's open at the bottom. I mean, you could always untie the little drawstring and fan it out a little bit to get some airflow under there. So I think it might be a good option. Oh, look at you. Almost didn't see you on the trail there. Oh, pretty cool. Have a nice day. Well, that's about it for this training hike. I just went past a house that had their air conditioning unit running. It's pretty warm out here.